Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, December 3rd, 2020, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's been a very busy day once again, and we're getting ready for the weekend. And it's been a busy news day also. So a lot going on. If you've been, if you follow me on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, you see we've been posting about some of the things that have been going on. And we've been doing some rebroadcasts throughout the day on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and we rebroadcast my daily show that I do here. We rebroadcast that, and I've been rebroadcasting some presentations I've done earlier in the year. Earlier today, we broadcasted a presentation I did back in January, Why Do African Americans Eat Black-Eyed Peas on New Year's Day? And this gets into a deep, rich history of African foods, because black-eyed peas come from West Africa. They're also known as cowpeas. Watermelon dates back about 5,000 years to ancient Egypt. So if you don't follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, I think you should probably do that right now. Okay. We've got all that information and a lot more. All right. So on today's show, we're going to talk about this lawsuit in Georgia. Georgia lawsuit demands nearly 2,000 purged Georgia voters be reinstated ahead of runoff races. Georgia lawsuit demands nearly 2,000 purged voters be reinstated ahead of runoff races. And, you know, we've been talking about the two Georgia runoff races that are critical. The balance of the U.S. Senate rests on these two races. January 5th, 2021. Pastor Reverend Raphael Warnock against Senator Kelly Loeffler, and John Ossoff against Republican Senator David Perdue. Both Republican senators have been in the middle of controversies. And at the same time, you have Donald Trump cronies and a lot of these idiotic Republicans who are calling the November 3rd, 2020 election a fraud, telling Republicans don't vote in the election coming up January 5th. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it's fine with me if they don't vote. As far as I'm concerned, it's fine with me if they don't vote. African Americans know enough to go vote. Okay, because the policies that Joe Biden, Senator Kamala Harris, and many African Americans want to get passed and signed into law have to pass through both chambers of the legislative branch of government, the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. So this January 5th, 2020 race is critical to be able to do all those things. This January 5th, 2020 race is critical to being able to do all of that. Okay, so we're going to talk about this lawsuit some on today's show. And then we see that U.S. breaks daily records for coronavirus deaths, as well as hospitalizations. We see that you have about 100,000 people hospitalized nationwide. And also the U.S. reported 2,777 deaths on Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, which was a record number of deaths in one day, along with over 205,000 cases were reported on Tuesday as well. So this continues to explode. It's going to get much worse. As I said, you had over 3 million people who traveled through TSA for Thanksgiving, and you still have people traveling. They're still going to be spreading coronavirus and catching it. This is going to get worse. All of the health experts that have any credibility are saying the worst is yet to come. Okay, so we got to be prepared. We have to be responsible. And I posted an article today from thehill.com. We're at 14 million new cases. We've gone from 13 million to 14 million cases in less than a week. And I posted hashtag wear a mask, hashtag no parties, because one of the ways that coronavirus continues to spread is through people having house parties and gatherings at their home, and they think they're safe because they know everybody. And I guess in one way, is it's safe because when you catch something, you know it's a small circle, you know who to go to. And then it's also a small circle so you can let them know that you caught something. So I guess that's good, but that's that's not protecting you. Okay, you're letting the killer right through your front door. All right, so we'll give you an update on what's going on with coronavirus in our news roundup segment. Then in Wisconsin High Court declines to hear Trump election lawsuit. Now these lawsuits are getting thrown out. These lawsuits are getting thrown out all across the board. These lawsuits are getting thrown out all across the board, and we may be getting some static here in the background. I'm not sure what's going on here. Those on Facebook, how do I sound? Do I sound all right on Facebook? We should be good here. But so these lawsuits are getting thrown out all across in various states. There have been 44 lawsuits in total that Trump has filed as of December 3rd. We look at as of December 2nd. We look at the reporting from MSNBC as of December 2nd. We showed you the graphic on our show yesterday, and Trump has only won one lawsuit. He's only won one lawsuit. Okay, so this is basically you just have a bunch of attorneys trying to get billable hours, and there's no merit to these cases. But a Wisconsin High Court declines to hear Trump election lawsuit. We'll talk about that as well. Then Tiffany Haddish is in the news. So today is Tiffany Haddish's 41st birthday. So happy birthday to Tiffany Haddish. Okay, so those on Facebook and YouTube are saying it sounds good, Shakita. So check what's going on at the control center. All right, Shakita is our board operator tonight. Everybody say hi to Shakita. She's at the radio station. So before COVID, I would be actually in the radio station, right? And you see the big microphone, and you'll see the logo behind me, 910 AM Superstation. But because of COVID, they have us broadcasting from home. Okay, but otherwise, I would be at the radio station right now broadcasting. All right, so we have. So today is Tiffany Haddish's 41st birthday. There's an article and an interview from People Magazine. We're going to share that with you because Tiffany Haddish talks about losing 40 pounds and talks about some other things as well. She shares the strategy behind her 40-pound weight loss, and she says nutrition is everything. So she has some inspirational words there. So we'll talk a little bit about Tiffany Haddish, and today is her 41st birthday. She was born in 1979. There's a lot of people I run into, people I know born in 1979. So I'm not sure what's up there. They're a little younger than me, and some of them look older than me, but they're younger than me. I'll be 50 next year, and most people say I don't look it. So there are a few reasons why, and we won't get into that. But we'll get into one. I don't do drugs. I've never even used marijuana in my life. Not even a puff of marijuana. I don't use drugs. I don't drink alcohol. Haven't had a drink in probably about 15 years. I'm a vegetarian. Haven't had meat in about 15 years. I don't do, so I don't do hard drugs, don't drink alcohol, don't even socially drink. Okay, we'll leave it at that. So, I know I don't have a lot of gray hair. things like that. I was going to say I stay away from crazy women, but we don't want to go there. So we don't want to go there. So, but yeah. All right. So we'll talk a little about Tiffany Haddish. We'll give you an update on what's going on with coronavirus. And then also, we know December 4th is the anniversary of the assassination of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, two members of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense in Chicago. So we'll talk some about that on our show, on our December 4th show. We'll give you, we'll show a little bit about that today, but we'll deal with that on our December 4th show. I saw a good article from blackamericaweb.com that talks about this. The weekly jobless claims came out this morning. They come out at 8:30 a.m. every Thursday morning from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Weekly jobless claims fall to 712,000 new claims, beating expectations. So we'll give you a little information about that. It's not really good. I mean, 712, I mean, that's much larger than normal. And it's still, you're still over 700,000 first-time jobless claims, okay? So we'll discuss that as well. And then a story we did not get to yesterday. We just ran out of time. And we ended up doing 2 hours on yesterday's show. So we're on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF in Detroit for an hour. And we continue on our social media platforms because I control that. But I try not to go past 2 hours because, I only have so much time and so much energy. But December 2nd, 1922, the publication of Model Sterilization Law. Model Sterilization Law leads to targeted compulsory sterilizations. The publication of Model Sterilization Law leads to targeted compulsory sterilizations. This was a good piece from Equal Justice Initiative, EJI.org, and they have information done with this day in history. And this ties into the eugenics movement that existed here in the United States. And the eugenics movement was a movement to sterilize and control the population of people deemed undesirable, people who were looked at as being more prone to committing crimes, and people who were looked at as being mentally deficient. And they sterilized both African Americans and white people early on, but over time it's going to shift more towards African Americans. And you're going to have about a little more than 30 state-sponsored eugenics programs here in this country, going back to the late 1920s into the 1930s up until about the 1970s. Okay. So somebody on Facebook said crazy women. Yeah, well, I have to be selective about who I spend time with. So let me just leave it like that. I really do. So I really do. Just put it like that. Okay. And it's one at a time too. I don't want to just give, but I don't want to. It's one at a time too, but I still have to be selective and careful. All right. So on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of their actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word KEMET, KEMET, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word KEMET, KEMET, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN show through Cash App, $, the AHN show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. All right. So when I made the joke about, crazy women, what I'm saying is that, as you mature in life, especially for men, you become more selective with the partners that you choose. Your standards change over the course of years, and you become more selective. So, I'm at that stage, and also because I travel and people know me across the country. And man, let me give you, how much time we got before the break, Shakita? Time to go to break right now. What are we doing? You can just come on air and tell me. We got time for a 30-second story. Time for break. All right, we got to go to break. All right, we'll tell you this 30-second story on the other side of break when I was traveling out of town. Okay. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. How's everybody doing? All right, everybody stand by. Okay. African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. We have a special promotion for you all right now. We can get up and I don't think I'm getting up to the hot water. I'm telling the truth, man. Yeah, dude, I can't. It's like, look, when I speak in different cities, people know me in different cities. Men know me, women know me in different cities. Okay. It's like, so I have to be selective and careful in the moves that I make and who I spend time with. I can't just, and I don't like sleep around, and I can't, it's like, I'm like really selective of the people I spend time with. So, I don't have stalkers and things like that. I don't have things like that. All right. Let's see. Toya, how you doing? Namaste. Portia said namaste. Yeah, so and at the same time, it's like I don't spend a lot of time like trying to chase women and things like that. I'm busy doing research. I'm busy working. I'm busy doing research. I don't have a lot of time for that either. All right, everybody stand by. Okay, we'll be back just a minute. Hey, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN show through Cash App, $, the AHN show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show. Let me see if I can update something here. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Thursday, December 3rd, 2020, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. And we need to do a segment coming up soon dealing with relationships and things like that. Because I posted, okay, so I was supposed to tell you a 30-second story right before the break, and the Shakita said it's time to go to break. All right, so I was in, I think it was in Atlanta. It was last year. I was traveling to Atlanta. I flew into Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. And then I get an Uber. I think this was, this was 2019. I think I was going to the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. This was 2019. Okay, so this is the third weekend in July. Was at the Lawrence Technical Center. So I speak there each year. Shout out to Queen Thais of the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Education Expo. So I get in the Uber and we're driving, right? And the Uber driver was an African-American female, right? We're driving and I'm talking to her and she says, "You're that guy from Detroit, aren't you?" So I pause and say, "Yeah." So she like watches me on she watches me on Facebook and YouTube. I'm down in Atlanta. Okay. So it's like, you know, I speak in different cities and people know me. So I just, you know, I learned to be careful. And then I learned to be selective about who I'm around and spend time with also. Okay. Shout out to everybody watching us on the Facebook fan page and our YouTube channel, The African History Network on Facebook and on YouTube, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. We got Leah and Nia and Gloria, Black Homeschool Network. Yeah, go to liberatedmindsexpo.com, liberatedmindsexpo.com. That is, that's a annual African-centered homeschooling conference. So it's not just like Black homeschooling, because you can have Black homeschooling that's Christian-based, and it's like a white curriculum dipped in chocolate. Okay, this is not what this is like an African-centered homeschool. It's a homeschool conference, and they have a lot of experts like Dr. Chike Akua and a lot of other people. Dr. Marimba Ani speaks there. Dr. Yaba Rudy and her husband Mwali Mubarudi. A lot of the experts, a lot of African-American experts in homeschooling and those that have homeschools, those that have homeschool networks, they're there at that conference in Atlanta, usually the third weekend in July. This year they did it online. My schedule was all screwed up. I didn't speak there this year. But we need to get Queen Thais on the, Marcus Klein. Marcus Klein has been there before. Shazmu Patah Amin said Marcus Klein. I know Marcus Klein. I've interviewed Marcus Klein some years ago. Professor Kabahaya Wata Kamene has spoken there. Dr. Claude Anderson spoke there 1 year through Skype, via Skype. Willie Ricks, Mukasa Dada, who was really good friends with Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, and they were both members of SNCC in the 1960s, 65, 66. Mukasa Dada has spoken there as well. I know Mukasa Dada. I've interviewed him before. Willie Ricks was his former name. And Mukasa Dada and Willie Ricks are both in the second incarnation of Eyes on the Prize, which is on YouTube. And I'm trying to get the box set of the second incarnation that deals with like 1965 through the 1980s. Okay, but Willie Ricks, Mukasa Dada is in Eyes on the Prize also. He's still alive. Okay, so all right. So let's jump into the show because we're just halfway over. Okay. All right. Y'all have me talking. Let's go to this first story here. How's everybody doing? 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. We'll go to the phone lines in just a minute. We'll go to Theo on line 1 in just a minute. So stand by, Theo. This is going to be one of those nights where we go at least we go an hour over on our social media platforms. This is going to be one of those nights. But in Georgia, you have a lawsuit that is demanding that nearly 200,000 purged Georgia voters be reinstated ahead of runoff races. Now, one of the leading organizations in the fight for African-American voters, African-American voters' rights and education, sued the state of Georgia over the practice of voter roll purging. Now, according to Greg Palast, and Greg Palast was interviewed last week by Roland Martin on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Also, watch out for me on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, December 4th. I'm a panelist every Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Follow him on Facebook, Roland Martin on Facebook, and on YouTube, Roland Martin on YouTube also. According to gregpalast.com, the lawsuit was filed Wednesday, December 2nd, in the United States District Court, Northern District, United States District Court, Northern District of Georgia, and accuses Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who's a Republican and a Donald Trump supporter. He said that before. Okay. It accuses him of violating the National Voter Registration Act, by removing around 198,000 citizens who moved from previous addresses listed on their voter registration, Now, the case names Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter. And I get emails from Black Voters Matter also. So I think they may email. I got to go back. I get so many emails a day, but I have to go back and read the emails because I think I got like 3 in a row from them. I think this is what they were talking about. But the case names Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter, attorney Barbara Arnwine, founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and C.K. Hoffler of Rainbow Push. They were named as plaintiffs in this lawsuit. They are working against the clock to reinstate those purged voters prior to the December 7th, 2020 voter registration deadline, so voters can participate in the January 5th runoff elections between Republican Senator David Perdue, who's in hot water over a lot of stock market trades that he's made, okay, and very questionable stock market trades. And it's alleged that he was making trades using inside information because of some of the committees that he sits on as a senator and different things like this. Senator David Perdue, Republican, and David Perdue there was supposed to be a last debate before the November 3rd election between David Perdue and Jon Ossoff. David Perdue was running scared because Jon Ossoff beat his behind so badly in this debate and called him out on everything from these stock market trades to things dealing with like the coronavirus and all types of different things like this. He's running scared, didn't want to have another debate with Jon Ossoff. But this runoff election, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, Republicans face Democrats Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock. Now, the lawsuit claims voters were improperly purged when they had not moved residences. The lawsuit claims that voters were improperly purged when they had not moved residences. The state of Georgia also alleged voters submitted change of address forms, which was disputed by the U.S. Postal Service. Lastly, the lawsuit says that the state of Georgia onboarded a contractor or brought on a contractor who used the wrong voter list and was not on the approved list of licensees by the U.S. Postal Service. Now, let me repeat this. Lastly, the lawsuit says Georgia onboarded or contracted with a contractor who used the wrong voter list and was not on the approved list of licensees by the U.S. Postal Service. Now, Joe Biden won the state of Georgia by a little more than 12,000 votes. There was 5 million votes casted in Georgia. Joe Biden won Georgia by a little more than 12,000 votes. Here you have 198,000 voters that were purged. And the lawsuit is alleging that these people were wrongfully purged. Now, Raffensperger, Secretary of State Raffensperger, remains in a hotbed of controversy stemming from the presidential election and Donald Trump's baseless claims of voter fraud in the states of Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. He later accused South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham of pressuring him to exclude ballots. Now, Raffensperger follows in the shoes of his predecessor, dumbass Governor Brian Kemp, who stole an election from Stacey Abrams, okay? And Brian Kemp was accused of the same disenfranchisement as well when Brian Kemp was Secretary of State of Georgia also. Now, Georgia is a former Confederate state. Georgia is one of those states that took up arms against the Union and committed treason based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, because they wanted to maintain slavery, because slavery was essential to their way of life and the wealth of the wealthy plantation owners and things like this, right? Why do you think white Republicans in Georgia don't want black people voting? Because if the majority of African Americans who voted in Georgia were voting for Republicans, I don't think they would be trying to purge their votes. So let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to Theo, line 1, Theo Broughton, Hood Research, calling from Detroit. Go ahead, Theo. Thanks for holding. Go ahead with your question or comment. Yeah, happy Thursday, you too. Yeah. I think this was at Stacey Abrams was 2 years ago. I think this was after. This was probably this purging probably. Yeah, Stacey Abrams ran in 2018. Right. Okay, just one second, Theo. Theo, hold on just 1 second. Okay, now the same people on Facebook are saying they can't hear the caller. Now they should be able to. All this is connected. Just 1 second. All this is connected. They should be able to hear. And I hear you through. I'm calling through Skype. I'm not sure why callers can't hear you, but anyway. Okay, so Theo was asking about the 17 people on death row that Donald Trump wants to kill, execute. And yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. One is a woman and someone who should not be on death row. Mm-hmm. Right. She killed somebody in self-defense and that's how she ended up on death row. Right. Right. Executed. Right. I've heard about it. I think some are African American. Usually, African Americans are at least 50% of the people on death row. So I have to look at that some more. Yeah, I have to look at that some more. All right. Thanks for calling, Theo. Thanks for calling. Okay. All right. So yeah, I want to go back to this article here. This is from blackamericaweb.com. Lawsuit demands nearly 200,000 purged voters be reinstated ahead of runoff races. Be reinstated ahead of runoff races. So Secretary of State Raffensperger follows in the shoes of his predecessor, Governor Brian Kemp, who was accused of the same disenfranchisement. Critics claimed that Brian Kemp, when he was Secretary of State of Georgia, purged more than 340,000 voters from the state's registration rolls during his time as Secretary of State, an accusation that became central during his gubernatorial run against activist and politician Stacey Abrams in 2018. Brian Kemp was also accused of other forms of voter suppression, including placing registration applications on hold, failing to address hiccups at majority Black voting precincts, along with absentee and provisional ballot complications. Brian Kemp, who was accused of tampering as head of the state's election process, did not step down from his post until 2 days before the 2018 election. He was running for governor, but he was also Secretary of State. The lawsuit aims to highlight the history of voter suppression aimed primarily at African-American voters. The lawsuit aims to highlight the history of voter suppression aimed at primarily African-American voters. Now, organizers and voter right activists want to reform Georgia's current election system in hopes that the unconstitutional obstacles which attempt to disenfranchise Black voters are reversed. All right, check out this article here from blackamericaweb.com. We'll post the link here on the thread of the broadcast. Lawsuit demands nearly 200,000 purged voters be reinstated ahead of runoff races. And just 1 second here. Let's just try to reconnect the mixer to the computer. All right, now on Facebook and YouTube, y'all should be able to still hear me. Okay, so then we go to Wisconsin, and we go to these lawsuits in these lawsuits that the Trump campaign keeps filing, and they keep getting thrown out of court. Okay, and these and the attorneys just keep billing. I think that's what this is all about. And Donald Trump has raised $170 million from campaigns from supporters. Donald Trump has raised $170 million from supporters, and they keep donating money. But I think some of them are wising up. We talked about one Donald Trump supporter last night. TheGuardian.com had the article. He donated $2.5 million to one of these Trump super PACs that said they were going to sue and overturn the election results and things like this. And at some point, he realized they're lying. And now he's suing to get his $2.5 million back. Okay. Now you were a dumbass in the first place to donate $2.5 million thinking they're going to sue and overturn the results of an election. But, okay, whatever. These are the type of losers and suckers supporting Donald Trump. Keep donating money to them. Associated Press reports Wisconsin High Court declines to hear Trump election lawsuit. This is from December 2nd, 2020. A divided U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday, actually, this is from December 3rd. This is from Thursday. A divided U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday refused to hear Donald Trump's lawsuit attempting to overturn his loss to Joe Biden in the battleground state of Wisconsin, sidestepping a decision on the merits of the claims and instead ruling that the case must first wind its way through lower courts. In another blow to Donald Trump, I could make a joke about that right about now, but we ain't going to do that because we on FCC regulated radio. But in another blow to Donald Trump, two dissenting conservative justices question whether disqualifying more than 221,000 ballots, as Trump wanted, would be the proper remedy to the errors he alleged. Okay, two dissenting conservative justices question whether disqualifying more than 221,000 ballots, as Trump wanted to be disqualified, would be the proper remedy to the errors that the Trump campaign are alleging. Now, the defeat on a 4-3 ruling was the latest in a string of losses of Donald Trump's post-election lawsuits. Donald Trump's post-election lawsuits. Judges in multiple battleground states have rejected his claims of fraud or irregularities. And when these attorneys, he's got the little rascals and the Three Stooges as attorneys. When they go to court, they're not alleging fraud. In most of these cases, they're not alleging fraud. They're not providing evidence of fraud. That's why this stuff is being thrown out of court. Now, when they're standing at the Four Seasons next to the sex shop, when they're on Fox News, when they're on Lou Dobbs' show, when they're on Laura Ingram's show, okay, they can say whatever they want to say. When they go to court, they're not providing evidence of fraud, and they're not alleging fraud either. That's why this stuff keeps getting thrown out. They don't have evidence to back up these allegations that they're making in the media, in the press. Now, Donald Trump asked the Wisconsin Supreme Court to disqualify more than 221,000 ballots in the state's two biggest Democratic counties. Alleging irregularities in the way absentee ballots were administered. His lawsuit echoed claims that were earlier rejected by election officials in those counties during a recount that barely affected Joe Biden's winning margin of about 20,700 votes. Okay. Now, when they did this recount in the two counties, now Donald Trump didn't have $8 million. Okay. Because you Donald Trump supporters want to donate enough money. So he didn't have $8 million for a recount of all of Wisconsin. So he paid $3 million for a recount of the two largest Democratic counties. They did a recount and Joe Biden picked up 87 votes. That averages out to about $34,000 a vote. So thanks, Donald Trump. Now, you Donald Trump supporters, y'all need to donate more money so they can do a recount of the rest of the counties in Wisconsin and Joe Biden can pick up some more votes. Okay, go ahead. Y'all have work to do. Go ahead and do that. Now, Donald Trump's attorney, Jim Troupis, said he would immediately file the case in circuit court and expected to be back before the Supreme Court very soon. Yeah, all this stuff is going to be thrown out. That's what's going to happen. All this stuff is just going to be thrown out. Okay. So, you know, they keep playing around and making all these allegations and things like that. This stuff is going to continue to be thrown out. Let me see here. Do we have this? Hey, I want to go to that clip. I want to go to that interview with Tiffany Haddish, Shakita. We have that queued up for People Magazine. We're going to go to that next. Today is Tiffany Haddish's 41st birthday. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Now, when we look at Donald Trump election lawsuits, when we look at Trump's election lawsuit, you have as of December 2nd, you had 44 lawsuits filed. Okay, 44 lawsuits filed. And you had, we're going to try to pull this up here. Denied, dismissed, or withdrawn, at least 27 lawsuits, denied, dismissed, or withdrawn. And you had, and none of these lawsuits have uncovered election fraud yet. None of these lawsuits have uncovered election fraud. That's why they keep getting thrown out. In Pennsylvania, they had a lawsuit that was thrown out with prejudice, which means they can't come back with another lawsuit alleging the same thing. You have judges that are appointed by Republican presidents and Democratic presidents throwing these suits out because they lack merit. And we've been talking about this on this show here. This is the dumbest thing. And Gloria on Facebook asked the question, what happened to the $170 million from donations? A lot of that money is going to pay off campaign debt of Donald Trump. Some of that money is going to pay these attorneys and things like that. And you know, they're probably pocketing some of the money also, just to be quite honest with you. But and when you get the information in the email, when they solicit the donations, it also talks about something to the effect that the Trump campaign, they can use it for travel expenses. They have a lot of leeway in how they use this money. Okay, so Donald Trump supporters, y'all keep donating, and if y'all don't want to vote come January 5th in Georgia, that's fine with me. All right. Okay. So those watching on Facebook and YouTube, the African History Network on Facebook, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. You see here, we've got the, I want to show you this here. This is the 44 denied, total cases filed, 44 denied, dismissed, or withdrawn, at least 27. And then none have uncovered election fraud. Okay, and that's reporting from MSNBC. You can check out that graphic. That's reporting from MSNBC as of December 2nd, 2020. Okay, all right. And somebody said on Facebook it has become a cult. Yes, it has. It's the cult of personality. Now Joy Reid on MSNBC, the Readout. She talked about, and formerly AM Joy, she talked about the difference between a religion and a cult. A religion and a cult. She said in a religion, your savior dies for you. In a religion, your savior dies for you. But in a cult, you're asked to die for your savior. And she talked about how a lot of these Donald Trump supporters are willing to go out here, not wear masks, risk their lives, maybe have to be hospitalized, catch coronavirus, maybe be hospitalized, maybe die. And we hear stories of Donald Trump supporters that refuse to wear masks, got coronavirus, and died. And they want to be like Trump, but Trump got an experimental drug that y'all can't even pronounce, okay, and can't even get. And he was able to survive coronavirus. And he has the best health insurance in the country. At the same time, his attorney general is in court right now trying to take away health care from at least 20 million people and repeal the pre-existing condition law that's part of the Affordable Health Care Act, also called Obamacare. And you have 102 million people in this country who have pre-existing conditions. Okay, so as we said before at the beginning of the show, today is Tiffany Haddish 41st birthday. Okay, and there's a good article from People magazine about Tiffany Haddish, and it talks about her weight loss and talks about her being with Common, things like this. Let's go to this clip here. Okay. All right, pause it right there. Shakita. Pause it right there, Shakita. For some reason, people can't hear on Facebook. Pause it right there, Shakita. Okay. I'm not sure why people pause it right there, Shakita. Okay, I'm not sure why people can't hear the clip on Facebook and YouTube. I don't know what's up with that. Sometimes they can't hear on 910. Now they can't hear on Facebook and YouTube. But that interview is from December 2nd, 2020. People magazine. Tiffany Haddish shares the strategy behind her 40-pound weight loss. Nutrition is everything. The actress and stand-up comedian tells People magazine she has been exercising daily along with eating directly out of garden. Okay. And everybody watching on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, keep watching. We're going to continue this discussion on our social media platforms, and we'll play the interview from People magazine with Tiffany Haddish as well. All right. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN show through Cash App, $, the AHN show, the AHN show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. So when you donate to the African History Network, that helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. As of October 12th, we're here 6 nights a week, 6 days a week, as opposed to just Sunday. It was Sunday for 4 years. We're still on 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, but we're also here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. Okay. And then also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can click on the yellow donate button there as well. And all of my DVD lectures and digital downloads are there also. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by. I don't know why you couldn't hear. All right, stand by. I just disconnected from the radio station. Let's try this again. Let's go to this interview with Tiffany Haddish. Okay, y'all can't hear the clip of Tiffany Haddish? Hold on. Stand by. I'm not sure why you can't hear. Hold on, let me check and make sure nothing is muted. Just a second. You can hear me talking, but you can't hear the clip. Let me check something here. Let me check something, make sure everything's connected. All right, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. You can hear me. But I don't know why you can't hear the clip unless there's a problem with okay, you hear her, it's very low. Let me see something here. Let's try this again. Can you all hear? Can you hear the clip? Damn. Can y'all hear? All right. I'm not sure why this is. I'm not sure why this is not. I'm not sure why this is not coming through. It may be. It may. Everything may need to be rebooted and synced together. That's the first time that's happened. I don't know. It's running through a 12 channel mixer that's plugged into the laptop. Everything synced together. I don't know. Okay, but we'll fix that. All right. So if we look at the article quickly here from People Magazine, and then we posted something from Soul TV also today about Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish is proof that even with the unusual restrictions of the pandemic, major personal achievements are still possible. She said, during this COVID period, I've lost 40 pounds. Haddish told People Magazine, adding that she's been exercising every day for anywhere from 15 minutes to sometimes 2 hours a day. The actress and stand-up comedian, she turns 41 today, says her new commitment to health and fitness was inspired by the late track and field superstar Florence Griffith Joyner. Florence Griffith Joyner, the Olympian athlete who still holds the world record as the fastest woman of all time. Tiffany Haddish said, I had this thought in my mind that I want the body of FloJo. Okay. And I remember FloJo from the 80s. FloJo was bad. She also sticks to a regular vitamin regimen and has significantly shifted her diet toward healthier foods. Tiffany Haddish said, I've been eating differently, eating way more vegetables, definitely eating directly out of my garden, and just really putting in the work, making sure I sweat every single day and staying up on nutrition. Nutrition is everything. And I try to dance every day for like 5 to 10 minutes. I think that's really important to make it fun. Okay. So check out this article here from People Magazine. This is from December 2nd, 2020. Tiffany Haddish shares the strategy behind her 40-pound weight loss. Nutrition is everything. Now, she was born December 3rd, 1979. Tiffany Haddish is an actress, comedian, and author. After guest starring on several television series, she gained prominence for her role as Nikisha Williams on the NBC sitcom The Carmichael Show. Her breakthrough role came in 2017 when she starred in the comedy film Girls Trip, garnering acclaim for her role as Dina. That year, she earned a Primetime Emmy Award for her work as a host of a Saturday Night Live episode and published a memoir, The Last Black Unicorn. Tiffany Haddish stars in the TBS series The Last OG, and executive produces and voices Tucka, T-U-C-A, Tucka, I guess is how you pronounce it, in the Netflix Adult Swim animated series Tucka and Bertie. All right. So happy birthday to Tiffany Haddish. as well. And, I like Tiffany Haddish. I don't like some of the roles she takes. I like Tiffany Haddish. I hope she finds peace, and I hope she gets roles in the future that are not necessarily what we may look at as stereotypical roles and loudmouth and vulgar and things like this. So 20 years from now, when she looks back on those roles, she'll be proud of the choices that she made in the role. So I hope she gets better roles also. Okay. I really do. I really like Tiffany Haddish. I know she's been through a lot. She was homeless at one point. She had a bad relationship with her father that she was able to reconcile. Her father is from Africa. Her father is Eritrean. Okay. Eritrea is right next to Ethiopia. And she was able to go a few years ago. So she was able to go to Eritrea and meet her father's side of the family. And that helped her out a lot as well. Face2faceafrica.com has articles dealing with this. And we posted some articles from face2faceafrica.com about that as well, about her going to Africa and the impact it had on her and her meeting her father's side of the family. Okay, so let's continue here. So U.S. breaks daily records for COVID deaths, cases, and hospitalizations. Okay, and somebody asked us to post a link there to donate. We posted it. $, the AHN show through Cash App. $, the AHN show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. We posted the link there as well. Okay, more than 8 months since the pandemic gripped the nation, it's no exaggeration to say that the crisis is worse than ever. On Wednesday, December 2nd, the U.S. set 3 chilling new records: the highest number of daily deaths, the highest number of new infections, and the highest number of hospitalizations since the pandemic began. Wednesday, December 2nd, was a horrific day for Americans fighting against coronavirus. The U.S. reported a staggering 2,777 deaths on Wednesday, December 2nd, along with 205,000 new cases, and surpassed 100,000 hospitalizations. The country has recorded more than 14 million total cases, and the nationwide death toll has surpassed 274,000, according to the latest NBC News tally. Now, as of today, Thursday, December 3rd, we had 14 million new cases. There was an article from thehill.com that we posted today also. And let me see if we can find this one here from The Hill. This deals with 14 million new cases. U.S. recorded over 14 million coronavirus cases. The United States has officially recorded more than 14 million coronavirus cases as of Thursday, December 3rd, 2020, less than a week after the country topped the 13 million infection threshold, a sign that the virus is spreading at an alarming rate. You have 1 million new cases in less than a week. 1 million new cases in less than a week. According to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University, the U.S. has had a total of 14,102,562 coronavirus infections, with at least 275,729 deaths as a result of the virus. This record comes a day after the U.S. saw its highest single-day coronavirus death toll to date. Now, depending upon what time of the day you get the numbers, usually later in. So when they're looking at the numbers from Johns Hopkins, and when they do the total tally of deaths for Wednesday, December 3rd, according to thehill.com, is 3,157 fatalities. The 2,777 deaths from the NBC News tally, I think that was or that was probably maybe like the evening or something like that for Wednesday. Because I looked at different sources. When they look at the total tally and the numbers come in, you were at over 3,000 for deaths for Wednesday, December 2nd. Okay, this number of 3,157 fatalities for Wednesday, December 2nd was 20% higher than the previous single day high of 2,603 deaths on April, was it April 15th? I think it was April 15th. Okay. Check out this article here from thehill.com, thehill.com. We'll post this link also here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll post this as well. All right. So let me see here. Let's look at these updates. And Senator Mitch McConnell said today, quote, compromise is within reach on a new coronavirus relief bill after months of gridlock. He said, we can do this. We'll see. It's a $908 billion bill that has bipartisan support. It's expected. Now, this is another reason why Democrats have to win the Georgia election January 5th, because you can get a bigger bill passed through the legislative branch of government after January 20th, when Joe Biden takes the oath of office. We see that Donald Trump is lashing out at his Roy Cohn, Attorney General William Barr. Donald Trump blasted Attorney General William Barr days after William Barr knocked down his repeated claims of widespread voter fraud. We talked about this here. Attorney General William Barr said he hasn't, Donald Trump said Attorney General William Barr hasn't done anything. He hasn't looked for voter fraud. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office on Thursday after awarding the Medal of Freedom to former Notre Dame football coach Lou Holtz. Neither one of them were wearing masks either. And on Tuesday, Attorney General William Barr told the Associated Press, quote, to date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election. We have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election. In other words, he's saying Donald Trump's lying. That's basically what he's saying. Now, Attorney General William Barr has been viewed as a staunch Donald Trump loyalist, but after contradicting Donald Trump's claims, Trump has not ruled out the possibility of firing Attorney General William Barr. And that'll be interesting because he's gonna leave his position January 20th anyway. So that'll be very interesting if Donald Trump fires Attorney General William Barr for telling the truth. But he's fired other people for telling the truth also. So, hey, once again, I think he needs to call 1-866 call Tyrone, and he needs to call the Jim James Paul and Tyrone moving company to have them come help him pack his stuff so they can move out of the White House. All right. And let me just look through these updates here from Washington Post and make sure I don't skip anything. Here is the article from People Magazine, Tiffany Haddish. So he just posted that. And so when we look at the updates from the Washington Post, and Washington Post has really good live updates dealing with coronavirus. We're going to post a link here on the thread. With hospitals slammed by COVID-19, doctors and nurses plead for action by governors. With few options left, overwhelmed doctors and other caregivers are appealing directly to governors for relief from the staggering increases in hospitalized COVID-19 patients as the virus surges across the country, In Connecticut, Tennessee, Missouri, and Mississippi. Connecticut Tennessee, Missouri, and Mississippi, physicians have issued unusually public pleas for stronger responses to the pandemic as hospitals and their staffs near a breaking point. Near a breaking point. And Portia said 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue eviction notice. Yeah, absolutely. There's an eviction coming January 20th, 2020. So this show is sponsored by the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. They have a 75% off discount that's only good for people moving from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on January 20th, 2021. Okay, use promo code DJT, pack your stuff. DJT, pack your stuff. Get 75% off from the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. This is only good for one day, January 20th, 2021. It's only good for people moving from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Okay. Call 1-866-CALL-TYRONE. Okay. They'll help you come pack your stuff. All right. Okay. So the number of hospitalized COVID-19 patients surpassed 100,000 on Wednesday, December 2nd. We talked about that, placing enormous strain on the nation's acute care hospitals, where there are roughly 730,000 beds, roughly 730,000 beds. The efforts have achieved little in the way of tangible relief so far, and in one case drew rebuke from Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves, who's a Republican. Let's see. All right, I'm just looking through these updates. We know that Joe Biden has asked Dr. Anthony Fauci to serve as chief medical advisor and will urge Americans to wear masks during his first 100 days in office. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the country's top infectious disease expert, said Thursday, December 3rd, that he plans to stay on in his role as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases after the Biden administration takes office. In an interview with CBS News, CBS News' Major Garrett, Dr. Anthony Fauci said that he has spoken several times with Ronald A. Klain, who is Joe Biden's incoming chief of staff, and that he would meet by teleconference later Thursday with the entire Biden landing team, a group that facilitates the presidential transition. Quote, today will be the first day where there will be substantive discussions about the transition between me and the Biden team, Dr. Anthony Fauci said during a podcast interview with CBS News' Major Garrett. And let's see here. I'm skipping over some of these. Okay. Just want to make sure I get through the pertinent updates. On our Thursday, December 4th, on our Friday, December 4th show, we'll talk some about the assassination of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. BlackAmericaWeb.com has a good article dealing with this. Fred Hampton, one of the major figures in the original Black Panther Party for self-defense that rose to prominence during the civil rights era in the 1960s, was assassinated on December 4th. 1969. Thursday marks the 51st year since he was killed by police, and in an example of the politics of law enforcement using unnecessary force against African American men or African Americans in general, because his wife, his girlfriend, the mother of his child, was in the apartment also. When he and Mark Clark were killed. An unfortunate trend that has lingered for centuries in America and continues to thrive in 2020. Fred Hampton was only 21 years old at the time of his death, but his accomplishments and contributions to empowering African Americans have lasted for decades. But it was because of those very advances that united minorities in opposition to police in opposition to the police state in which many of them lived that ended up getting Fred Hampton killed. Law enforcement began heavy surveillance of him before the fateful police raid in Peoria, Illinois, where he died and other Black Panther members were injured. Okay, so we'll talk some about that on Thursday's show. And there's a documentary about Fred Hampton also. I saw it actually back in college. There's a, we'll get the name of that documentary. Also, here the other computer's freezing up. Weekly jobless claims fall to 712,000, beating expectations. But I mean, they're still horrible. You had 700,000 new jobless claims in 1 week. The number of claimants for initial weekly jobless benefits fell last week to 712,000 as the labor market struggles to rebuild itself amid a continued surge in COVID-19 infections that has led to a new round of restrictive measures. The data released Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 by the Department of Labor beat economists' expectations of 780,000 claims because they thought it was going to be much worse. In the prior week, total claims had ticked up sharply to a newly revised 787,000, while claims remain well below the pandemic peak of 7 million in March 2020. The weekly totals continue to represent three times the pandemic average, and have never dipped below the recession peak of 665, the Great Recession peak of 665,000. In the wake of record rise in daily deaths, from the coronavirus, the CDC's Dr. Robert Redfield issued a sober message on Wednesday, December 2nd, urging stricter adherence to safety precautions in order to slow the spread of the virus. Dr. Redfield said, "I actually believe the winter months are going to be the most difficult time in the public health history of this nation. I actually believe the winter months are going to be the most difficult time in the public health history of this nation." He's talking about December, January, and February. Those are going to be the worst months. You got Christmas and the people traveling, doing all this traveling during Thanksgiving, right? We haven't even seen the worst of those repercussions because that was just last week, okay? And you over the next, you go from Thanksgiving, you go about 21 days. After that, you're going to start seeing a surge in the deaths coming from people who are traveling during Thanksgiving and getting coronavirus. You're going to see a surge in hospitalizations and deaths about three to 4 weeks after that Thanksgiving weekend. So if we're already at 205,000 cases in one day on Thursday, wait until the impact of those people traveling during Thanksgiving weekend and getting coronavirus, wait till that hits. Then you got Christmas and people want to travel during Christmas and all that stuff. And Donald Trump they're electing his duties. Donald Trump is missing in action on coronavirus. He ain't doing a damn thing dealing with coronavirus. Okay? He's doing more to try to overturn the results of a lawful election than he is trying to fight coronavirus. He'll take credit for, he'll say, oh, why didn't they come out with these vaccines earlier? Why didn't they come out with these vaccines before the election? All this stuff. Vaccines aren't even out yet. They're trying to get approval for them. Some of them are in the last stages of the trials, okay? And the other part of it, with the other part of the vaccine, some of the vaccines, you have to get it in two dosages, like maybe 3 to 4 weeks apart. That is going to be challenging, and that's going to be a logistic challenge, because people are going to have to go back to get that second dosage to actually be protected. Some people ain't going to go back. So this is why we're going to be wearing masks for the next few months. And if you had competent leadership in the White House in the beginning, at least 100,000 lives would have been saved. If you had competent leadership and we started wearing masks earlier, at least 100,000 lives would have been saved. And then there was a article we posted an article from CNN, and other outlets picked this up also, that it's now they're seeing that coronavirus was here in the U.S. back in December 2019. They were doing, I think they were doing autopsies. Let me try to pull this up here. And they realize now that coronavirus was here in the U.S. in December 2019. Let's see. We posted this on our Facebook page, The African History Network, And I posted this on my personal page, Michael Imhotep, also IMHOTEP. Let's see here. I know it's on my personal page. Let's look at this. Trying to pull this article up. There was one from CNN that talked about this. I'm trying to find it here. So just bear with me. Okay, we'll pull this one up here. I'll wait for the rest of the screen to load. How's everybody doing? Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Okay, so while I try to find that one, okay, yeah, here it is. It's from CNN. Coronavirus could have been spreading in U.S. as early as mid-December 2019, study suggests. This is from CNN.com. December 1st, 2020. Coronavirus could have been spreading in U.S. as early as mid-December 2019. The novel coronavirus may have infected people in the United States as early as December 13th, 2019, according to a study published Monday in the journal Clinical Infectious Diseases, the study, which was conducted by scientists at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, analyzed blood donations collected by the American Red Cross from December 13, 2019 through January 17, 2020. They analyzed blood donations. Scientists analyzed blood donations collected by the American Red Cross from December 13, 2019 through January 17, 2020. The 7,389 samples collected from 9 states, the 7,389 samples collected from 9 states were tested for SARS-CoV-2, which is coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2. They were tested for SARS-CoV-2 reactive antibodies. SARS-CoV-2 is the scientific name for the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. Of the samples tested, at least 106 samples were found to have antibodies for SARS-CoV-2, including ones collected from California, Oregon, and Washington, the state of Washington. from December 13th through December 16th, 2019. Previously, the first known case of COVID-19 in the U.S. was reported on January 21st, 2020. CNN has reached out to the World Health Organization for comment. So this was one of the live updates from CNN, from CNN.com on December 1st, 2020. We're going to post this link here on the thread of the broadcast. You can check this out. Okay. How's everybody doing? Okay, we've got Shazmu, Patah Amin, Portia. We've got Donna, Sean, Solomon. 2 doses. Yeah, 2 doses. Some now all of the vaccines. Some of the vaccines are different. Some of the vaccines are only 1 dosage. Other vaccines are 2 dosages. Okay. And they have to be, it's like 3 or maybe 4 weeks apart, the dosage. You don't get both dosages at the same time. So somebody has to come back to get that second dosage. All right. And then one of the fears is, okay, if they get the first dosage and their arm is sore, they have some type of side effects, some mild side effects from it, they may be less reluctant to go back and get the second dosage. All right. So, okay. All right. Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Okay. So we get all those. Lastly, we ran out of time on yesterday's show. This is from EJI.org, Equal Justice Initiative. December 2nd, 1922, publication of model sterilization law leads to targeted compulsory sterilizations. Publication of model sterilization law leads to targeted compulsory sterilizations. Now, in the early 20th century, state legislatures began passing sterilization laws authorizing the compulsory sterilization of men and women considered, quote unquote, less desirable, second dose. Yep. Less desirable citizens based on factors such as economic status, meaning poor people poverty stricken, mental or physical ability, and race. Economic status, mental or physical ability, and race. By 1914, a dozen states had passed sterilization laws, but many did not survive constitutional challenges. On December 2nd, 1922, after extensive investigation into state sterilization laws and their reception in state courts, Harry Laughlin, Laughlin, who is a biologist and co-founder of the American Eugenics Society, published a model sterilization law in his study, Eugenical Sterilization in the United States. Eugenical sterilization in the United States. Okay. Now, the model law was designed to aid lawmakers in developing more effective and constitutionally acceptable sterilization laws in their jurisdictions. The model was designed to aid lawmakers in developing more effective and constitutionally accepted sterilization laws in their jurisdictions. Harry Laughlin's model law passed the ultimate test in 1927 when the United States Supreme Court upheld Virginia's compulsory sterilization law in the lawsuit of Buck versus Bale, B-U-C-K, Buck versus Bale. Virginia's law had been developed using Harry Laughlin's model as a blueprint. 18 states eventually passed similar statutes with devastating consequences. 18 states eventually passed similar statutes with devastating consequences. In just a second here. And then when we look at it, if you look at the history of eugenics, eugenics was, the term eugenics was coined in 1883 by a man named Francis Galton, okay? And Francis Galton was a cousin of Charles Darwin, okay? Francis Galton was a cousin of Charles Darwin. And there was in North Carolina, there was a sterilization program in North Carolina. And North Carolina was the first state to actually pay reparations to the survivors of the state-sponsored eugenics program. One of the survivors was a woman named Elaine Riddick. Elaine Riddick is featured in the documentary Ma'afa 21 from director Mark Crutcher. Okay, and Elaine Riddick is one of my Facebook friends also. So there was we'll go to this article here from ABC News from November 2020, dealing with eugenics also. We'll go to that in just a second here. Now, after the publication of Harry Loeffler's model law and the court's decision in the lawsuit of Buck versus Bale, the rate of sterilization in the United States soared. The rate of sterilization in the United States soared. Prior to the mid-1920s, approximately 3,000 Americans have been forcibly sterilized. Prior to the 1920s, approximately 3,000 Americans have been forcibly sterilized. By 1938, the number had increased to nearly 30,000. By 1938, the number had increased to nearly 30,000 and reached at least 65,000 by the 1970s, okay? So prior to the mid-1920s, approximately 3,000 Americans have been forcibly sterilized. By 1938, the number had increased to 30,000 Americans who had been forcibly sterilized. And by the 1970s, you had 65,000, at least 65,000 people who had been forcibly sterilized. Now, American sterilization laws were used as a tool of racialized population control, particularly in the South for decades. Racialized population control, particularly in the South for decades. Harry Laughlin's model law was influential abroad as well. In 1933, the German government, led by Adolf Hitler, used Harry Laughlin's model to draft its own sterilization law, which authorized the forced sterilization of 80,000 unfit people within a year of its passage and 300,000 people by the start of World War II. 80,000 unfit people, 80,000 people who Germans deemed unfit, within a year were sterilized of its passage, and 300,000 people were sterilized by the start of World War I. Okay, so the sterilization program that Nazi Germany put in place was modeled after the work and the plan of Harry Laughlin, okay, who was here in the U.S. All right. And then also the Nuremberg laws from Nazi Germany, that's modeled after the Jim Crow laws here in the U.S. also. Now, if we look at this article here from ABC News, abcnews.go.com, the official website of ABC News. And we'll pull this article. We'll pull this article up here. Okay, this is coming up. Let me see here. Is that the one I want? I think it's a different one that I want. Okay, yeah. So this article here deals with a clinic dropping the name, a clinic that was named after one of the founders of eugenics, dropping the name. This is from November 17th, 2020. This is in London. One of Britain's leading family planning organizations is changing its name to distance itself from its founders' troubling views on eugenics and race. One of Britain's leading family planning organizations is changing its name to distance itself from its founders' troubling views on eugenics and race. Mary Stopes, S-T-O-P-E-S, Mary Stopes International, which provides abortion and contraception services, said that starting Tuesday, it would be known as MSI Reproductive Choices. It said the change was, quote, a clear signal that we neither adhere to nor condone the views of Marie Stopes, a women's rights campaigner who founded Britain's first birth control clinic in London in 1921. It grew into an organization that operates more than 600 clinics around the world. It grew into an organization that operates more than 600 clinics around the world. Marie Stopes supported eugenics, the now discredited movement to improve the human race through selective reproduction. She opposed interracial marriage and advocated the sterilization of people considered unfit for parenthood. Okay, check out the rest of this article here. We're going to post the link to this article here in the thread of the broadcast. All right, how's everybody doing? And there was one from ABC News back in there was one story they had because I remember when was it ABC? No, it was one story I think was NBC News. Because I think Brian Williams interviewed Elaine Riddick. And I'm trying to see here. I think we have it bookmarked. Let me see. There's one North Carolina Senate. Okay, let's see. Victim. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is from 2013. Yeah, this one here is from NBC News, July 25th, 2013. Victims of forced sterilization to receive $10 million from North Carolina. Victims of forced sterilization to receive $10 million from North Carolina. Because when all this was going on and the lawsuits were taking place in North Carolina was the first state to come out and formally admit to a state-sponsored eugenics program and to pay reparations. In a landmark move by the state of North Carolina, lawmakers passed a budget that includes $10 million to compensate the state's victims of forced sterilization. State House Speaker Tom Tillis, a Republican, told NBC News, quote, "There were challenges. We had to better educate our members. There were challenges. We had to better educate our members. And then, of course, we had to work through the fiscal challenges. Okay. But at the end of the day, what we've done is something truly historic. Now, from 1929 to 1974, North Carolina forcibly sterilized thousands of men, women, and children, usually without their consent. It was part of a larger eugenics movement that believed poverty, promiscuity, and alcoholism were inherited traits. The eugenics means good genes. And the eugenics movement was trying to rid humanity of people who they deemed had bad genes, had a greater propensity to commit crimes, to be impoverished, things like this. So they were trying to sterilize these people so they could not reproduce. Okay, this took place here in the US. And you had a little more than 30, somewhere about 35 state-sponsored eugenics programs that were doing sterilizations of people in these states from the late 1920s into the 1970s. Now, from 1929 to 1974, North Carolina forcibly sterilized thousands of men, women, and children, usually without their consent. It was part of a larger eugenics movement that believed poverty, promiscuity, and alcoholism were inherited traits, and that without them, the gene pool would be improved. Okay, without these people that had these quote unquote inherited traits, the gene pool will be improved. Elaine Riddick, who's also featured in the documentary My Alpha 21, she's an African-American woman. Elaine Riddick was raped and impregnated at 13 years old. And after giving birth to her baby boy, Tony, she was sterilized against her will. Afterward, she lived for years in shame, but had something to prove. Elaine Riddick said people need to know that injustice was done towards them, and they need to be compensated for that. People need to know that injustice was done towards them, and they need to be compensated. For that. Elaine Riddick was profiled by NBC News Rock Center with Brian Williams in November 2011, and I saw the interview. That's why I said Brian Williams. No, it wasn't ABC. It was Brian Williams, NBC, because I saw the interview that Brian Williams did with Elaine Riddick in 2011. The documentary, My Alpha 21, they came out like 2009, 2010, before that interview in 2011. So I already knew who Elaine Riddick was when I saw her being interviewed by Brian Williams in 2011. Elaine Riddick has been a formidable advocate for her fellow victims, pressing North Carolina to make amends, but multiple attempts at compensation have not come to fruition. On Thursday, back in 2013, July 2013, Elaine Riddick said she was amazed to learn of North Carolina's plan to compensate victims. She said, quote, "I tip my hat to North Carolina. Finally, they came to their senses and decided to do what's right," end quote, she said. Still, Elaine Riddick added, "The money isn't enough. Quote, you can't put a price on someone taking your womb or castrating you. It's humiliating," Elaine Riddick said. Now, in 2002, North Carolina became one of the first states to publicly apologize for practicing eugenics. In 2002, North Carolina became one of the first states to publicly apologize for practicing eugenics. It estimated that 7,600 people were sterilized in North Carolina, And according to the North Carolina Justice for Sterilization Victims Foundation, according to the North Carolina Justice for Sterilization Victims Foundation, only 177 living victims have been verified to date as of July 2013. The $10 million appropriated for eugenics victims will be distributed equally among them starting in 2015. This is an effort to give more victims the opportunity to come forward and be authenticated. If a victim dies, their portion will move to their estate. If a victim dies, their portion will move to their estate. State House of Representatives, let's see, this was State House of Representatives Speaker Tom Tillis said, quote, "I hope this provides some closure to what I believe is one of the darkest chapters of this state's history. I hope this provides some closure to what I believe is one of the darkest chapters of this state's history." As for Elaine Riddick wants other states to follow North Carolina's example, but she said, quote, "My goodness, they could have done this a long time ago," end quote. She's correct. They could have done this a long time ago. Read this article here from NBCnews.com. This is from July 25th, 2013. Victims of forced sterilization to receive $10 million from North Carolina. If you've been watching my show, because I've been on the air 10 years. So if you watched me back in 2013, I covered this story in 2013. I talked about this in 2011 when Brian Williams interviewed Elaine Riddick. Okay, all of this. All right, and then this ties back into December 2nd, 1922, when Harry Laughlin published model sterilization law. Okay. All right. Hey, if you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHN Show, paypal.me / the AHN Show. All my DVD lectures are available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll be shipping out orders this weekend, DVD lectures and digital downloads. We have the 8 DVD bundle pack, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus, And that includes a double lecture that I did with Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. Includes a double lecture I did with Professor Kabahaya Wapa-Kamene, also Booker T. Coleman. Professor Kabahaya Wapa-Kamene. It also includes one that I did with, let's see, you have that, you have one from Dr. John Henrik Clark, one from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. They came before Columbus. So that's available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we also have the 6 DVD bundle pack and digital download bundle pack, Black Migration 1619 to 2019. Black Migration 1619 to 2019. That is available at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com also. Okay. All right, look, we have in that bundle pack, you get my lecture, Black Migration 1619 to 2019, that deals with the 400th year anniversary of August 20th, 1619. It's some other history. We deal with the Great Migration and different things like that. You get 6 principles of political self-defense, understanding how laws and policies impact the economic conditions of African Americans. And you also get a lecture I did dealing with the history of African American jockeys and how we were winning the Kentucky Derbies. And the first Kentucky Derby was when it was ran in 1875. It was run by an African American man who was 19 years old named Oliver Lewis, and how we got pushed out of horse racing also. So it's a 6 DVD bundle pack, Black Migration 1619 to 2019, also at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, look, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then we're still on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time also. These shows are audio podcasted. Also, African American business owners, post name your business here on the thread of the broadcast. And email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. We have a few more slots left to advertise, but we can get you up and running right away. We create a video commercial for you at no additional charge and an audio commercial. You can send us a script or send us bullet points. We'll create that for you. And your video commercial airs when we rebroadcast these shows. Your video commercial will air in the rebroadcast of these shows also. Okay. All right. We got to get out of here. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. Not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.